Race has turned up so high in part because of an independent poll by Siena College that came out on Friday. Pollster Steve Greenberg is joining me now to crunch the numbers. Steve?
Liz?
Were you surprised? 12 points in a month this man gained, and we're talking, of course, about Bob Turner.
Yeah, well, no question. I mean, I'm a big believer, as you know, in momentum in political campaigns, and clearly the momentum is on Bob Turner's side. I wasn't as surprised this time that Turner was up 6 as I was in Siena's initial poll back at the beginning of August, where Turner was only down by 6. This is a district that is 3-1 Democratic in enrollment. Granted, by New York City standards, it's a more conservative Democratic district, not by any national or statewide standards. But the fact that Turner was only down 6 at the beginning of August showed, I think, me and many others that this was a real race. And now we've seen, as I think you'll recall when I was here in the spring and we were talking about New York 26, the Kathy Hochul race, I said it was the perfect storm for the Democrats. I think we're seeing the exact same thing in opposite this time. This is a potential perfect storm for the Republicans.
Yeah, and we can't discount how much of that has to do with the fact that David Weprin is just sort of a crummy candidate.
He is not the best candidate. It's why I think voters, likely voters in this district, have a more favorable view of Bob Turner than they do of David Weprin. But look, that's a piece of it. The other piece of it is the national side. These voters don't love Barack Obama. He's underwater with voters right now, 43% favorable, 54% unfavorable. But to me, even more telling was the question we asked, is the United States on the right track or is the country headed in the wrong direction? 3/4 of the voters in this district said the country is headed in the wrong direction. Well, they're prepared to take it out on somebody. They're angry, they're frustrated about the economy, about the direction of this country. Who's in charge? The Democrats. So they're prepared to take it out on the Democrats.
Right, and if you will, the bed was sort of made already, prepared, well-tilled by the fact that the predecessor, the man who held this seat, went out on a sex scandal that was very high profile, and he was a very high-profile guy, and we're talking, of course, about Anthony Weiner. So people in the district were already predisposed not to love the Democrats. Then you have this undemocratic small d process that selects a candidate, right? There's no primary.
Yeah, although I don't think voters get hung up on that. I think folks like you and I who follow this more closely get hung up on that, but I don't think the voters do. I think the voters are just angry about the state of the economy in this country. They're not thrilled with what they've seen from David Weprin. Look, Turner is carrying 90% of the Republicans right now. He's winning with independents by a larger margin than Weprin is winning with Democrats. And 1/3 of Democrats right now say they're prepared to vote for Bob Turner.
Okay, and just for 1 second, though, and I don't want to focus too hard on the national, obviously, but, you know, Barack Obama, unfavorables are outweighing his favorables in your poll, 54-43.
Yep.
But interestingly, it's not like they're in love with John Boehner. I don't even think most people don't know who the heck the guy is, right?
No, Boehner's numbers are not much different than the president's, actually, other than he's a little less known. And it's not that they're anti-democratic. Look at Andrew Cuomo's numbers in this
75.
district.
He's only gone up from 69% favorable to 75% favorable. That's amazing. And the interesting thing about that is he's robocalling right now for David Weprin, but he is not television advertising for him. I mean, do you detect a little bit of, maybe we don't want to go all in for this guy?
No, I don't think so. I think television advertising here is crazy. I mean, look, in the 26th out in Western New York, you couldn't watch TV or listen to the radio for 30 seconds without seeing a commercial or hearing a commercial for one or both of the candidates because it was the Buffalo media market and the Rochester media market.
Comparatively,
affordable. New York City, you're aiming at one congressional district, but channels 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, they shoot out at 30 congressional districts. So it's crazy. I think that the Democrats are making a tactical mistake by the DCCC was investing $500,000 in the close of the
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money
but
because
you also
you don't get a lot of exposure.
No, I know, but
This race is going to come down to tomorrow. Which side does a better job of getting their voters to the polls?
Hold on to that thought. Also, they're telegraphing by dumping $500,000 in. You might as well take out an ad that says, "We are freaked out that this guy that we picked wrong and this guy's going to lose."
But again, that's a message to you or to me. That's not a message to the average voter.
That matters.
That doesn't really matter to the voters in the district.
No, I understand.
What it does is say to the Republicans, "Holy cow, they're scared. We should invest a little bit more."
Right, and National has not invested in this race, interestingly.
No, I mean, what both sides should be focused on is not worrying about TV or money or all of that right now. It is getting a field operation.
Okay, let's
now,
talk.
one should assume. Go ahead.
But before you get there, I just want to talk briefly about Israel. It's like Nowheresville in this race.
No, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about it. Ed Koch has tried to make it an issue that the former Democratic mayor has endorsed the Republican Turner, saying send a message to President Obama that he's bad on Israel. Siena asked voters, we gave voters 5 choices and said, what's the most important factor for the reason you're supporting Weprin Turner? Israel finished dead last. 7% of voters said that was the most important factor for them, including only 16% of Jewish voters. And Jewish voters make up about a third of the district.
I know, and to be honest, as a Jew, I think that's a little bit offensive. To say that, or as in anybody who happens to be, and a woman or whatever, as a key voting bloc person, to say Jews only care about Israel and Orthodox Jews only care about same-sex marriage, and David Weprin voted yes, that's just not, to pigeonhole a voting bloc is actually to talk down to voters, and I think a little offensive.
I agree, and I would also say, does Israel matter to certain voters? Absolutely. Will they make their decision based on Israel? Sure. Will certain voters make their decision based on David Weprin voting for same-sex marriage? Sure. Some will support him because of it, some will oppose him because of it. But for the vast majority of voters, this is a pocketbook election. This is all about jobs and the economy. All of these other issues are secondary.
Okay, now let's talk about get out the vote, because it does come down to that. It is an off-year election. There are no big-ticket items at the top there to bring people out. I mean, turnout, what do you think turnout's going to be?
15, 17% maybe. I would be shocked if it hit 20. Let's not forget, in this district last November, where we had a gubernatorial election, 2 United States senators, comptroller, attorney general, congressman, legislature, I think the turnout in this district was about 42, 43%.
Right.
So here we have a Tuesday in September with essentially nothing else on the ballot. In parts of the congressional district, you have an assembly, a special election. But for most of this is the only thing on the ballot. I think turnout's going to be real light. Now, that gives an advantage to the Weprin folks, because presumably the Brooklyn and Queens Democratic machines are better at getting out the vote than are the Brooklyn and Queens Republican organizations.
Well, that's because there is no Brooklyn and Queens
Exactly.
Well, the Queens Republican organization has been trying to kill each other with 2 factions for a very long time. And in Brooklyn, it's really mostly a Democratic operation.
Absolutely. So, but now I know that the Turner people have been trying to bus in folks from D.C. and other places for get out the vote. The real question for me is, I know Weprin has all of the labor endorsements. To me, the endorsements mean nothing. The real question for me is, are the key unions down in New York City, UFT, 1199, some of the others, are they turning on the phone banks? Are they sending out the troops to the district?
We haven't seen it yet. We
will
will
see.
see.
If they do it, then that really gives an advantage to Weprin. If they don't, I think this race is wide open.
And just, to say... There are going to be a lot of things to say after the fact, and I know that you'll probably be on the show, but just real briefly, I mean, the losers column will be so long if David Weprin loses.
No question, and the Republicans will have a great story to tell locally, across New York, and nationally, because they will blame it all on Barack Obama.
And you're talking about the guy who brought us Jerry Springer,
That's correct.
That is Bob Turner for you folks. Okay, well, it will be a very interesting race. We will be watching it. I want to thank you very much, Steve Greenberg, for being with us.